We were out there humping through that jungle like it was life or death. Because it was. Dead of night, triple canopy jungle. The kind of darkness that doesn't give a thing about you or your fancy night vision goggles. Our movement. Stealthy, silent, and fast as hell. Why? Because whoever hits first usually walks away. Simple math, motherfucker. We crested this pass and ducked under a thick stand of mahogany trees. Sweat. Shit. It wasn't just sweat. It was like someone turned on a faucet inside my body, pouring down my face, drenching my gear. The tropical heat didn't give a damn if it was midnight. It was like breathing through a fucking wet towel. Man, I was 27, young, dumb, and still thinking I was some action hero living out my Rambo fantasies. This wasn't a damn movie. It was life. And life don't cut to credits when the bullets start flying. On the always see signal, I opened fire. The roar of that M60 shook every bone in my body. That belt-fed beast was spitting 500 to 650 rounds a minute, and my adrenaline was maxed out, pumping like a damn freight train. There wasn't a single thought in my head except me, that weapon, and the target I was tearing apart. Apologies. Fuck that. I don't do apologies in war. It was 2002. Just out of buds. Fresh Navy SEAL. I thought I was the hardest motherfucker on earth. I didn't know shit yet, but I'd learned. 9/11s was still a bleeding wound, and for guys like us, combat wasn't some mythical idea anymore. It was real, raw, and it was waiting for us in the mountains and villages of Afghanistan. Meanwhile, we were sweating our asses off in Malaysia, training like rabid dogs, praying for our chance to join the fight. The buds had broken my ass down to nothing. And SEAL qualification training rebuilt me into something deadly. I got my trident, landed in my first platoon. And then it was straight into jungle warfare training. Helicopters, fast roping, rappelling, the works. Some guys became snipers. Me. I was the biggest son of a bitch in the platoon, so they handed me the pig, the M60 machine gun. That beast weighed 20 pounds empty, and every 100-round belt was another 7 pounds. I carried 6 or 7 of those belts, one on the gun, 4 on my waist, 1 in a pouch strapped to my ruck, and a 50-pound pack on my back. Every damn step, every damn climb, that pig came with me. Most guys hated pig duty, but I fucking loved it. That gun wasn't just a weapon. It was an extension of me. Every time I carried it, it was like carrying the weight of responsibility. Because that's what it takes to be the best. You don't get to bitch about the weight. You don't get to quit. You move just as fast as everyone else. Or faster, because no one's coming to save your ass if you fall behind. We train like we fought. Live ammo, real stakes. Barrel discretion. Yeah, you better know where the hell your muzzle's pointed at all times. Friendly fire ain't just a mistake, it's a fucking career ender. It takes precision, discipline, and focus. Because if you lose that for 1 second, you're done. And being a SEAL doesn't mean shit if you're unsafe. Doesn't matter how many medals you got or how badass you think you are. One screw up and you're out. Every day, every mission, every round fired, you're being judged. And trust me, those judgments don't lie. First platoon, 3 new guys. Me and 2 others. One of them, dude was so fucking unsafe they had to snatch his gun. Fucking think about that for a second. You're in the middle of the jungle, carrying real steel, and this clown gets downgraded to a broomstick like some knockoff wicked witch of the West. For 10 brutal days, we hauled our weapons through the Malaysian jungle, slept in hammocks, paddled dugouts, and gritted our teeth through the grind. Meanwhile, this guy's over there swinging his damn broomstick like we're in a fucking cosplay convention. And even with that handicap, he couldn't hang, got booted. Lesson learned early. The weak get weeded out, no exceptions. Now, our officers in that first platoon, they were the real deal. No fluff, no BS, man. They kept everybody honest, and I respected the hell out of them for it. Let me tell you something. Nobody just turns into Rambo when the shit pops off. That's Hollywood crap. Dana Deere, my platoon's second in command with SEAL Team 5, laid it out for me real clear. Dana's a badass, and these days he's running operations at Buds. We push hard as hell in training, Dana told me, so when the bullets start flying, we fall back on damn good training. The point we fall back to is so high, we already know we're going to outperform the enemy. We may not become Rambo, but we'll be damn close. And that's what it's all about. The standard you fall to when shit gets real isn't some mystical fucking place. It's the level you trained at when nobody was watching. A lot of people geek out over the guns and explosions and SEAL stories, but for me, that wasn't the part that got me going. Yeah, I was good at it, damn good. But the real fight was always with myself. That's the war one gave a fuck about. Physical training was my battlefield, and my first platoon delivered that in spades. We go on these insane whim runs most mornings before work. You don't know what a whim run is. It's exactly what it sounds like. Some officer gets a wild hair up his ass and decides, fuck it, we're running. And it wasn't some casual jog either. Nah, we were out there competing. Every man for himself, full throttle. Our officers led from the front. Our OH and Dana. Those two were beasts, some of the best athletes in the platoon. Our platoon chief, Chris Beck. Now, Kristen Beck was a hard ass, man. Total no BS kind of leader. Dana told me later, it's funny, the OH and I never even talked about our PT philosophy. We just want to beat each other. And that got everyone else fired up. The competition spread like wildfire. And Dana, that dude was fucking nuts in the best way. Before we shipped out to Indonesia with stops in Guam, Malaysia, Thailand, and Korea, we were doing training dives off San Clemente Island. One morning, this crazy bastard looks at me and says, let's go old school. Shorts and dive knives, no wetsuits. The water was 55 degrees. Cold enough to shrink your balls into a damn black hole. But Dana didn't care, and neither did I. That's the kind of old school SEAL shit they pulled off during D-Day at Normandy. We swam, dove, and froze our asses off together, but I'll tell you what. It wasn't just training. It was a fucking mindset. When we hit Southeast Asia, it was game on man. We trained elite military units in Malaysia, sharpened the skills of the Thai Navy SEALs, the same badasses who saved those soccer kids from that cave in 2018, and soaked up every ounce of that animalistic mentality. But for me, the mornings were the best. PT was where the real fight happened. Everyone in that platoon was gunning for each other. It didn't matter who you were. We were all trying to outwork, outrun, and outsuffer each other. I usually came in third place behind our two officers. But guess what? That shit didn't matter. What mattered was that every single one of us was breaking personal bests almost daily. That's the power of a competitive environment. It doesn't just make you better. It makes everyone around you better. This was the motherfucking crucible I dreamed of when I clawed my way into Buds. We were SEALs living the ethos every damn day. And I couldn't wait to see how far that shit could take us, individually and as a unit. But as Afghanistan burned and we stayed sidelined, all we could do was sit on our asses and pray, like desperate gamblers that our number would finally get called. I'll never forget that moment in a dingy Korean bowling alley, watching the invasion of Iraq unfold on some busted-ass TV. It felt like getting gut-punched by life itself. We bled sweat and suffered for a shot like that. Trained our asses off from PT until we puked to mastering weapons and tactics like maniacs. We were a weaponized unit ready to fucking unleash hell. And being passed over yet again lit a fire of rage in every one of us. We couldn't take it out on the battlefield, so we took it out on each other every damn morning. Navy SEALs were treated like gods at every base we hit around the world. And a lot of the guys leaned all the way into that rock star bullshit. Late nights, boozing, wild parties, the works, not me. I clawed my way into the SEALs by living a damn Spartan lifestyle, and I sure as hell wasn't about to lose my edge. My job at night was to recover, sharpen my blade, and get my body and mind ready to grind again tomorrow. I didn't give a shit about popularity. I stayed mission ready, and some of the guys respected me for it. Others didn't. Our office in charge, though, tried to nudge me toward that team bonding crap. I respected the hell out of him. Dude was sharp as fuck. Naval Academy, Cambridge grad, stud athlete, and a damn good leader who was headed straight to DevGru. His evaluations mattered too. That shit follows you around like a shadow in the military. On paper, my eval was solid. He respected my skills and my relentless grind. But off the record, he pulled me aside to drop some wisdom. Goggins, he said, you'd understand this job a lot better if you hung out with the guys more. Some of the best lessons I learned about operating in the field came from hanging with the boys, hearing their stories. It's part of being in the brotherhood. That shit hit me hard, man. Hurt like hell. I wasn't just different, I was too different. To them, I was part of the teams, but not the brotherhood. That stung because I thought my struggle and grind had made me one of them. But no. Apparently, I had to hit the bars, tell stories, and throw back beers to prove my worth. For an introvert like me, that felt like being asked to climb Everest every damn day. Fuck that. I got to where I was by being relentlessly me. While they partied, I studied. While they swapped war stories, I broke down tactics, learned weapons inside and out, and sharpened my mind like a damn blade. I wasn't preparing for today. I was grinding for opportunities that didn't even exist yet. BeThrive was my next target. Those missions. Tip of the spear, next level shit. Osama bin Laden raised the kind of ops that made history. Back then, you couldn't even screen for BeThrive until after your second platoon, but I was already living like I was born for it. I wasn't about to settle for being some vanilla-ass Navy SEAL. Man, every morning I woke up and reminded myself, they don't fucking know me. I'm not here to conform, kiss ass, or play pretend. I'm here to dominate. And when my time came, I'd show every last one of them where I belonged. Yeah, we were all uncommon. Hard as hell compared to civilians. But I wasn't just another SEAL. I was starting to see I was uncommon, even among the fucking uncommon. And you know what? That's fine. If that's who I was, I'd own that shit. Hell, I'd lean into it and separate myself even more. Not long after that evaluation, I smoked the morning run for the first time. I blew past Dana and the OIC and that last half mile like they were standing still, and I didn't fucking look back. That wasn't just a win. It was a statement. Platoon assignments last 2 years. And by the end of deployment, most of the guys were gassed. They were ready to kick back, regroup, and recharge before diving into their next platoon. And yeah, their next missions were pretty much guaranteed to take them straight into combat, given the wars popping off, but not me. I didn't want a break. I didn't need a break. The uncommon among uncommon don't take fucking breaks. After that first evolt, I turned my hunger for growth into obsession. I started studying every special operations unit across the military, except the Coast Guard, because come on, let's be real. SEALs love to puff their chests and claim we're the best, but I wasn't here for bullshit. I wanted to see who the hell was out there thriving in the worst environments, and I wanted to train with those guys. I knew they could sharpen me even further. I kept reading about Army Ranger School, how it was one of the top leadership schools in the entire military. That was all I needed to hear. During my first platoon, I submitted 7 chits to my OHT asking for approval to go. 7 fucking chits. I want to sponge more knowledge, I told him. I want to become the most skilled operator I can be. Chits are like formal requests, and my first 6 went straight into the void. I was the new guy, and people thought I needed to keep my ass planted in naval special warfare, not go sniff fucking around the Army. But by the end of my 2 years in the platoon, I built a reputation. People knew I was relentless. My 7th chit didn't just sit. It went up the ladder to the co in charge of SEAL Team 5. When he signed off, I was fucking in. Oggins, my always said when he gave me the news, you're the type of motherfucker who'd wish you were a pal, just to see if you have what it takes to survive. He wasn't wrong. He knew exactly who I was becoming. The type of guy who thrived on pushing himself to the outer edges of pain, fear, and possibility. We shook hands. The OIC was headed to BeThrive, and there was a real chance we'd cross paths there soon. For the first time, BeThrive had opened their recruitment to include guys off their first platoon. My relentless prep had paid off. I was one of the few on the West Coast approved by SEAL Team 5 to screen for Green Team, BeThrive's training pipeline. Before I left for Army Ranger School, I hit the Green Team screening. 2 days of pure hell. Day 1 was all physical. A 3-mile run, a 1,200 meter swim, 3 minutes of max effort push-ups and sit-ups, and a pull-up test. I fucking crushed it. Smoked everyone. My first platoon had turned me into a stronger swimmer, a faster runner, and a deadlier machine. Day 2, the interview, more like a fucking interrogation. They grilled us, tested our resolve, and broke down our mental armor. 18 guys screened and only 3 made the cut. I was one of them. That meant that after my second platoon, I'd be one step closer to BeThrive. one step closer to operating at the tip of the spear where only the rarest motherfuckers thrive. I could hardly wait. It was December 2003, and just like I fucking envisioned, my Special Forces career was blasting into hyperspace because I kept proving day in and day out that I was the most uncommon motherfucker out there. I wasn't just chasing greatness, I was stomping its ass. 2 weeks later, I rolled into Fort Benning, Georgia, for Army Ranger School, ready to turn that grind up another notch. It was early December, and out of 308 guys, I was the lone Navy SEAL in the class. The instructors didn't just look at me sideways, they were flat out skeptical. A couple of SEALs before me had straight up quit during training, and back then they'd send SEALs to Ranger School as punishment. Those dudes weren't the best representation of what we're about, but that wasn't my problem. What they didn't know, and what I was about to show them, is that I wasn't there on some punishment detail. I'd begged to fucking be there. But to them, I was just another cocky special ops guy with a big mouth and even bigger boots to fill. Within hours, they stripped all of us down. Not just our uniforms, but our egos and reputations too. Officers lost rank. Special Forces badasses like me. We became nobodies with everything to fucking prove. On day one, they split us into 3 companies. And I got tapped as first sergeant of Bravo Company. Why? Because the original first sergeant had just gotten his ass handed to him on the pull-up bar and couldn't recite the Ranger Creed worth a damn. He fucked it up so bad they yanked his stripes right there. The Rangers, they don't fuck around with their creed. That shit is their Bible. Our Ranger instructor, Rye, stormed up, fuming, scanning Bravo Company like a predator looking for his next meal man. I don't know where the hell you think you men are, he growled. But if you expect to become Rangers, then you better fucking know our creed. His eyes locked onto me. I know for a fact Old Navy here doesn't know the Ranger Creed. He thought he was about to clown me in front of the whole damn platoon. But he didn't know I'd been drilling that creed for months. Hell, I could have recited it while running the damn ultramarathon. So I cleared my throat, stood tall, and belted it out like my life depended on it. Recognizing that I volunteered as a Ranger, fully knowing the hazards of my chosen profession, I will always endeavor to uphold the prestige, honor, and high esprit de corps of the Rangers. The Rhode Island tried to cut me off. Hell no, I kept going. Acknowledging the fact that a Ranger is a more elite soldier who arrives at the cutting edge of battle by land, sea, or air, I accept the fact that as a Ranger, my country expects me to move further, faster, and fight harder than any other soldier. His face changed. A wry smile crept in, but he stayed quiet this time. I wasn't stopping. Word for word, I smashed through the entire 6 stanzas loud and proud. Never shall I fail my comrades. Readily will I display the intestinal fortitude required to fight on to the Ranger objective and complete the mission, though I be the lone survivor. Rangers lead the way. When I finished, the Rye just shook his head, muttered something about me getting the last laugh, and then did something no one saw coming. Congratulations, Goggins, he said. You're first sergeant now. He left me standing there in front of my platoon, speechless as hell. That was my job now, to march these men around and make sure they were ready for the fucked up gauntlet ahead of us. In Ranger School, just surviving is hard enough. It's a 24/7 grind just to keep your own shit together. But now I had to look after 100 dudes. I was part boss, part big brother, and full-time boot camp enforcer. And don't get it twisted. I still had to go through the same brutal evolutions as everyone else. But here's the thing. That was the easy part for me. The physical punishment. Bring that shit on. That was my zone, my fucking sanctuary. What shifted was my mentality. I wasn't just there to survive anymore. I was there to dominate. My mindset wasn't about passing a test. It was about showing myself, my platoon, and those fucking instructors that no matter how far they pushed us, I could go further. Because that's what being the uncommon among uncommon is all about. In Buds, I didn't give a fuck about the other boat crews. If you were in my crew, you got my tough love, my leadership, and my expectations. Everybody else, sink or swim, I didn't care. If they quit, that was on them. But Ranger School, that was different. This time I wasn't just there to crush it for myself. I was there to bring the whole team up whether they liked it or not. If I saw someone struggling with navigation, patrolling, keeping up on a run, or just fighting to stay awake all damn night, I didn't let it slide. We rallied together, no excuses. Not everybody wanted to play along. Some of those motherfuckers were so broken that when we weren't being graded, they hide out, coast, and do the bare minimum. But that wasn't me. I didn't take a single fucking second off during those 69 brutal days. I showed up every moment because I wasn't just trying to pass, I was becoming a damn leader. That's the whole point of Ranger School. To taste what it takes to lead under the worst conditions imaginable. The field exercises were like a twisted scavenger hunt for operators, mixed with an endurance race from hell. 6 phases, all designed to break you, to make you question why you even wanted to wear that Ranger tab. Navigation, weapons, rope techniques, reconnaissance. It was all about proving you could lead when everything in you screamed to quit. Man, the first phase, 5 days and 4 nights in the foothills of Fort Benning, Georgia. 12-man teams, barely any food, 1 or 2 fucking marmores a day. And maybe a couple hours of sleep if you were lucky. We were racing cross country, hitting stations to complete skills tests under the clock. Leadership rotated, and when it was your turn to lead, you either stepped the fuck up or you crumbled. And mountain phase. That was a whole new level of fucked up. We were tossed into 25-man teams and thrown into the North Georgia mountains, where winter wasn't playing games. Appalachia gets cold as a motherfucker. And let me tell you, those mountains do not give a shit about your comfort. I'd heard about black soldiers with sickle cell dying in this phase. And the army wanted me to wear some red case dog tags to alert medics in case my body gave out. But screw that. I wasn't about to let my team think I was some weak-ass liability, so those red case tags never made it onto my neck. Up there, we learned how to rappel, rock climb, and pull off ambushes in that freezing, unforgiving terrain. Then came the FTXs, 4-night field training exercises that were pure misery. During the second one, a storm rolled in like the devil himself was pissed. 30-mile-per-hour winds, ice, snow. Fucking chaos. We had no sleeping bags, no warm clothes, and barely any food. All we had to keep warm was a poncho liner and each other's stinking bodies. And I mean stinking. We were burning so many calories and running so low on fuel that our bodies started eating our own muscle. The smell of all that rotting, decaying flesh was rancid. It made your eyes water, it made you gag. Visibility was shit. Just a few feet in front of you. Guys were wheezing, coughing, shaking so hard you'd think they were about to shatter like glass. Wide-eyed terror was plastered on every face, and I thought for sure we were going to lose someone that night. Frostbite, hypothermia, pneumonia. It didn't matter. Death was right there, breathing down our necks. But here's the thing. We didn't die. Not a single one of us. You know why? Because we leaned into that pain, into the fear, and kept fucking going. That's what separates the uncommon from the rest. And I was leading those men to prove that shit every single step of the way. When you stop to sleep during field tests, it ain't some fucking luxury. Rest is quick, dirty. And you're always pulling security in 4 directions, but when that storm rolled in, Bravo platoon folded like a cheap-ass lawn chair. Don't get me wrong. These were hard motherfuckers, prideful as hell. But they got stuck in survival mode. I get it, man. Survival instincts kick in. Even the instructors were cool with it, because we were in weather emergency mode. But me, fuck that. I saw an opportunity to separate myself from the pack. This was my moment to lead from the front, to stand tall when everyone else wanted to curl the fuck up. That storm wasn't my enemy. It was my proving ground, my chance to be uncommon amongst uncommon motherfuckers. Life's gonna throw storms at you. Maybe it's not snow and ice, but it's coming for your ass just the same. And most people, they'll cave, they'll bitch, whine, and look for comfort. But not you. Not if you've got that fire inside. I'm talking about the kind of person who stays in the office grinding till midnight while the rest of the world's getting drunk at the bar. Or the badass firefighter who sharpens her fucking chainsaw after 24 hours straight on the line. Or the dude who gets home after flying all night, sees the house trashed, and instead of crying like a little bitch, cleans it up because it's got to get done. That's the kind of mindset you need. It doesn't give a shit about your gender, race, or what boxes you check. It's about holding yourself to a higher fucking standard. Life is short, man. Tomorrow's not promised, so you better show up ready to crush today. When shit hits the fan, most people scatter. Leaders step the fucked up. They don't cry about the storm. They welcome it. They embrace the pain, the grind, the chaos. That's where growth lives. So when that storm slammed into us on that Georgia mountaintop, I didn't huddle up like the rest of them. I stood my ass up, locked in, and owned that western perimeter like my fucking life depended on it. Because it did. The wind screamed, hail cut my face, and I yelled back at that bitch like it owed me money. Some of the other guys heard me, and you know what? One by one, they crawled out of their holes, freezing their asses off, but ready to stand tall. These weren't moments of fucking comfort. This was brutal, soul-crushing shit. But we held that damn perimeter until the instructors called us in. They threw up a circus tent to shield us from the storm, but by then the message was clear. You don't back down when things get hard. That's when you go harder. Later, in Florida phase, we kept that same mindset. Freezing swamp water? Fuck it. Static line jumps at 500 feet. Let's go. Building rope bridges while our fucking fingers went numb. We didn't complain. We executed. Because that's what being uncommon is all about. Showing up when most people tap out. Every day, life gives you a choice. Hide from the storm or lean into it. The weak hide. The strong, we fucking thrive. We'd all heard the story. The winter of '94 was so fucking cold. That 4 would-be Rangers froze their asses off and died of hypothermia during Florida phase. Standing there near the beach, shivering my nuts into oblivion, I couldn't help. But think about Hell Week. Same cold, same misery. Every time we stopped, dudes were nut to butt, jackhammering like their lives depended on it. But me, fuck that. I locked in. I wasn't about to let the cold own me. No weakness. Not now, not ever. But this time wasn't about taking the instructor's souls. Nah, this was different. This was about giving the struggling guys around me the courage to keep moving. If that meant crossing a freezing ass river 6 fucking times to help someone tie off a rope bridge, I'd do it. If I had to walk them through every damn step, I would. Because it wasn't just about me. It was about making sure every one of those guys proved their worth to the Ranger brass. Because that's what leadership is, man. That's what the fuck it takes. You want to call yourself a leader. Then you stay fucking exhausted. You pour out every ounce of ego and arrogance until there's nothing left but grit. You never look down on the weakest guy. You lift him the fuck up. You fight for your people. And you lead by example every damn step of the way. That's what it means to be uncommon among uncommon motherfuckers. It's not just about being the best. It's about dragging others up to their best too. It's about showing them the fucking standard and making sure they rise to it. But here's the thing. It's a lesson I wish I learned even deeper. Because a few weeks later, I'd face a leadership test that would bring me to my fucking knees. And this time, I came up short. Ranger school wasn't just demanding. It was straight up fucking brutal. The standards were so high that out of 308 candidates, only 96 made it through. Most of those guys were from Bravo platoon. I didn't just graduate. I came out as the enlisted honor man with a 100% peer evaluation. Man, that 100% peer eval meant more to me than any fucking medal or title. That wasn't coming from the brass. It came from my brothers, the same knuckle-dragging, hard-ass dudes who fought beside me in the worst conditions imaginable. Those men saw something in me and I wasn't about to let them down. But one look in the mirror told the whole story of what it cost. I lost 56 fucking pounds in Ranger school. I looked like absolute death. My cheeks were hollow, my eyes were bugging out of my damn skull, and my biceps gone. I was a shell of the man who walked in, but I wasn't alone. All of us were wrecked. Guys who could crush 40 pull-ups on demand couldn't bang out even one. Some of us struggled to run a damn block without looking like we'd been hit by a truck. The Army knew we were broken, so they gave us 3 days to stuff our faces before graduation. The second that final FTX wrapped up, we all bolted for the chow hall like starving dogs. I grabbed donuts, fries, cheeseburgers, everything that wouldn't fight me back, and then made a beeline for the milk machine. Here's the thing. I hadn't touched dairy in years. Ranger school had shredded me so bad that my body became lactose intolerant. But that day I didn't give a fuck. I wanted milk like a little kid wants a damn security blanket. So I pulled the lever and out comes this chunky ass milk. Looking like straight up cottage cheese. Did I care? Hell no, I sniffed it, shrugged, and guzzled that nasty shit like it was the nectar of the gods. That's what Ranger school does to you. It breaks you down to the point where even spoiled milk feels like fucking victory. But here's the difference between most people and me. They take time to recover. They'll sit on their asses for a couple of weeks, eating, resting, and feeling good about what they just accomplished. Not me. The day I graduated. Valentine's Day. I was on a fucking plane to Coronado to meet up with my second platoon. Most people would have called that insane. I called it an opportunity to stay uncommon. See, it's not about who's watching. It's not about the fucking applause or recognition. It's about the standard you set for yourself when no one else is looking. Everywhere I went, from Buds to my first SEAL platoon to Ranger School, I was known as the hardest motherfucker in the room. When the OAC in my second platoon put me in charge of PT, I knew I'd landed with a group of men who were ready to fucking get after it. Inspired, I started brainstorming the most evil, soul-destroying workouts I could think of. This wasn't about getting in shape. This was about preparing for war. We all knew we were headed to Iraq. And I wasn't about to let us go out there as anything less than the hardest SEAL platoon in the fucking fight. I thought back to the original SEAL legends. The guys who set the bar so high it seemed impossible to reach. Men who'd swim 5 miles on Monday, run 20 on Tuesday, and climb a 14,000-foot mountain on Wednesday, all while laughing in the face of pain. That's who I wanted us to be. The hardest of the hard. The men who refused to quit, no matter how much the world tried to break us. Man, my expectations, sky fucking high. For that first week, I had the guys rallying at 5 a.m. for a run. Swim, run, or a brutal 12-mile ruck, that wasn't enough. After that, we'd hit the O course, haul logs over the berm, and knock out hundreds of push-ups. These weren't workouts, they were wars. We did the hard shit. The real shit. The kind of shit that made us SEALs in the first place. Every day was harder than the last. By the end of week 2, the cracks started showing. Here's the thing, every alpha male in special ops wants to be the top dog. But under my watch, they couldn't fucking hang. I didn't give breaks. I didn't believe in rest. We were all breaking down, myself included. And that was the damn point. Weakness was oozing out of every one of us. But guess what? They didn't want it every day. By week 2, attendance started dropping. Then the OHE and the chief pulled me aside for a little chat. Look, dude, the OHE started. This is stupid. What are we doing? We aren't in Buds anymore. Then the chief piled on. Goggins, this isn't about Buds. It's about living the SEAL ethos, earning the trident every day. Translation, they wanted me to dial it back. These guys weren't interested in the kind of suffering I brought to the table. They wanted to hit the gym, get big, and call it a day. They didn't want to meet my standard, let alone exceed it. And you know what? That reaction shouldn't have surprised me. But it fucking did. It pissed me off and made me lose all respect for their so-called leadership. I got it though. Not everyone wants to work out like a fucking animal for the rest of their lives. Hell, I didn't want to either. But that's what separated me from the rest of them. I didn't let comfort rule me. I wasn't there to settle. I was there to go to fucking war with myself, to find more and to set the standard. See, I believed, knew that it was our duty to keep the Buds mentality alive. To prove ourselves every damn day. People worship Navy SEALs. They think we're the hardest motherfuckers on the planet. But that day, I realized that wasn't always true. I'd just come out of Ranger School, a place where rank didn't mean shit. You could have been a fucking general and you still be in the same boots as the lowest enlisted guy on day 1. Everybody started as maggots. Nobody cared about your past, your rank, medals, and titles. None of it mattered. What mattered was what you did that day. And I fucking love that mindset. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter what you've achieved. Life doesn't give a fuck about your resume. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. There's no in between. Yeah, celebrate your victories. You earned that shit. But after the celebration, it's time to get back to zero. Dream up the next goal. Write up the next workout. Start over the very next day. You think you've got it all figured out. Great. Go do something that makes you feel like a dumb fuck again. Are you a badass scuba diver? Cool. Ditch the gear and learn to free dive 100 feet on one breath. Triathlete. Awesome. Start rock climbing. Crushing it at work. Fantastic. Go learn a new language or get another fucking degree. Because that's the only way to expand your mind, your body, your soul. It's the only way to stay in the fight. By week 2 of my second platoon, my chief and OA showed their true fucking colors, and it hit me like a gut punch. They didn't think we needed to earn our status every damn day. Look, all the guys I worked with over the years were relatively hard dudes, highly skilled, focused, and locked into the brotherhood. They loved the challenges of the job, loved being treated like rock stars, and loved wearing that fucking trident on their chest. But here's the thing, some of them weren't hungry anymore. They weren't interested in starting back at zero because they'd already climbed the mountain and were satisfied just breathing the rare air. That's a common mindset, by the way. Most people, if they ever push themselves at all, will only push so far. They reach a plateau, get comfortable, and settle the fuck in. I've got another word for that bullshit. Soft. And soft. That shit doesn't fly with me. As far as I was concerned, I had my own fucking standard to uphold. So when my platoon opted out of the hellscape I'd built for them, the chip on my shoulder doubled in size. I didn't back off. I ramped it the fuck up. I vowed to put out so hard it would make them feel weak just watching me. That wasn't leadership. That was ego. My job as head of PT wasn't to rub my fucking hard work in their faces. It was to inspire them to give more. But I didn't see it that way. All I saw was a glaring weakness, and I let them know I wasn't impressed. My leadership didn't just regress. It crumbled. In one short week, I lost all the progress I'd made at Ranger School. My situational awareness, gone. Respect for the men I was supposed to lead, out the fucking window. Instead of adapting and figuring out how to get through to them, I tried to bulldoze my way forward. And guess what? They bucked against that shit. Nobody gave an inch. Not the officers, not the guys, and definitely not me. The truth. I was taking the path of least resistance. I just didn't see it because physically I was still grinding like a savage. There was one exception. Sledge. Sledge was a hard motherfucker from San Bernardino, son of a firefighter and a secretary. Like me, he had to teach himself to swim just to pass the damn test and get into buds. By the time we crossed paths, he was on his 4th platoon. A year older than me and trying to turn his life around. He was a drinker, a little overweight, and looking to get back to his best self. The morning after my showdown with the chief and the OIC, Sledge showed up at 5 a.m. ready to fucking roll. I'd been there since 4, already dripping sweat. I like what you're doing with the workouts, he said. I want to keep doing them. Roger that, I told him. From that day forward, no matter where we were, Coronado, Nia, or Iraq, Sledge and I got after it every fucking morning. We met at 4 a.m., no excuses. Sometimes that meant running up the side of a damn mountain before tearing through the O course. Other times we carried logs. Just the 2 of us. In buds, it took 6 men to haul those things. We did it with 2 just because we fucking could. Then there was the pull-up pyramid. 1 pull-up, then 2, then 3. All the way up to 20 and back down to 1. After every other set, we'd climb a 40-foot rope. Before long, 1,000 pull-ups before breakfast became our mantra. When Sledge started, he could barely bang out 1 set of 10 pull-ups, but within months, that dude had dropped 35 pounds and was rocking 100 sets of 10. That's the power of showing the fuck up every single day. That's the power of refusing to settle. In Iraq, getting in long-ass runs was damn near impossible, so we lived and died in the weight room. Hundreds of deadlifts, hours on the hip sled. We didn't just flirt with overtraining. We married that bitch. Muscle fatigue, breakdown. We didn't give a single fuck. This wasn't about the body anymore. This was a straight up war for the mind. I wasn't designing workouts to make us faster runners or the strongest beast on the battlefield. No, I was breaking us down, molding us to endure pure torture. I wanted us to stay calm when life hit the fan, to keep our shit together in the most brutal, uncomfortable environments imaginable. And trust me, it got uncomfortable as hell. Our platoon was divided, no doubt about it, Sledge and me against everyone else. But in the field, we locked it down. Off duty, though, that divide was a damn canyon. I looked around and couldn't connect with who my team was anymore. My disappointment was written all over my face, and I didn't try to hide it. Hell, I wore that shitty attitude like a badge of honor. That's how I earned the nickname, David Leave Me Alone Goggins. And you know what? They were right. My disappointment wasn't their problem. It was mine. Here's the thing about becoming uncommon amongst uncommon. When you push yourself into that stratosphere, you start thinking you're untouchable. That's superiority. It's all in your damn head. Ego will convince you you're better than the team. And that's where you fuck up. You start lording it over them. And guess what? That doesn't make you stronger. It makes you weaker. It won't make the team better. And it sure as hell won't make you better. Instead of getting pissed because others can't keep up, how about you dig deep, grab their hands, and bring them with you? You're all fighting the same damn war. Everyone's caught in the tug of war between comfort and greatness, between settling for average and suffering for excellence. That battle never stops. You face it every damn day. As the head of PT, my job wasn't to turn these guys into some Navy SEAL wet dream I had in my head. It was to help them be their best. But I fucked that up. I didn't lead, I judged. I got angry, I showed them up instead of showing them the way. For 2 years, I was that guy stomping around like a badass instead of stepping back to see the damage I was doing. I had chance after chance to fix it, to close the gap, and I blew it every damn time. And it cost me. I didn't wake up to this truth right away. After my second platoon, I went to free fall school and became an assaults instructor. Both stepping stones to green team. Assaults was critical. Most guys who get axed from green team get cut because they're too slow in house runs, expose themselves like amateurs, or lose their cool and end up shooting friendlies. I was laser focused on not being one of those guys. But all that focus, all that discipline, it doesn't mean shit if you can't humble yourself, learn from your mistakes, and lead from the front. Because in the end, this journey isn't just about how far you can push yourself. It's about how far you can bring the whole damn team. Teaching those skills turned me into a damn machine. Clinical, stealthy, calm as a sniper in confined spaces. I was ready. I expected my orders to train with Dev Grew at Dam Neck, Virginia, any day. But those orders never came. The two other guys who crushed the screening with me, they got their marching orders. Me. Mine went Mia. So I picked up the phone, called Dam Neck, and asked what the hell was going on. Their answer: "You'll need to screen again." That's when I knew something was off. I replayed the entire process in my head. Did I screw something up? Hell no, I smoked that shit. But then it hit me. The interview, that wasn't some friendly QA. It was a damn interrogation with two dudes running a good cop, bad cop routine. And the questions, they weren't about my skills or my Navy know-how. 85% of that bullshit was about one thing: my race. "We're a bunch of good old boys," one of them said. "We need to know how you're going to handle hearing black jokes, bro." That's what they wanted to know. Variations of that same theme over and over again. And you know what? I smiled through it. I thought, how are you white boys going to feel when I'm the baddest motherfucker in this room? But I didn't say it. Not because I was scared. Not because I was uncomfortable. I was comfortable as hell in that room. For the first time in my life, it was out in the open. No bullshit. No pretending that being one of the few black men trying to break into one of the most elite, white-dominated organizations in the world didn't come with its own set of challenges. One guy tried to get in my face, aggressive as hell, while the other played it cool. But they were both being real, and I respected that. DevGru already had 2 or 3 black guys in the fold, and these men were telling me point blank that cracking into their circle came with a price, certain terms and conditions. And you know what? I fucking loved it. They weren't trying to civilize anyone or make some politically correct unit. DevGru was hard-ass, raw, and renegade, responsible for the most dangerous balls-to-the-wall missions. This was a white man's underworld, and they needed to know if I could handle it. They wanted to see if I could take the hits and not lose my shit. Could I stay in control when someone fucked with me? Once I stripped away the surface-level bullshit, I saw the bigger picture. I didn't get offended by their act. I leaned into it. Look, I said, I've dealt with racism my entire life. There's nothing you can throw at me that I haven't heard 20 times before. But be ready, because I'm coming right the fuck back at you. They seemed to like that. But let me tell you something. When you're a black man giving it back, that shit rarely lands the way they say it will. Why didn't I get my orders for Green Team? I'll never know, and it doesn't matter. Life throws curveballs you can't control. What matters is how you respond. What are you going to do when the opportunity you've been busting your ass for doesn't pan out? You pivot, adapt, and find another mountain to climb. Instead of crying about how I crushed the process and deserved another shot, I decided to burn that bridge and aim higher. I screamed for Delta Force, the Army's answer to DevGru, Delta Selection. It's brutal, and I want it in. Delta is elusive as hell. You don't hear stories about these guys like you do about SEALs. That mystery, that's what hooked me. The screening was no joke. An IQ test, a full military resume, qualifications, war experience. You name it. I pulled it all together in a few days, knowing I was up against the best of the best from every branch of the military. Only the elite would get an invite. In a few weeks, my Delta orders came through. Not long after that, I found myself in the mountains of West Virginia, stepping into the arena with the Army's finest. No yelling, no screaming, no muster, no ice barking orders, just a board in the barracks with our assignments. Delta doesn't give a fuck about babysitting. The men who show up are self-starters. You either bring it or get the hell out. And that's exactly the kind of environment I was built for. For 3 straight days, we were locked down. No leaving the compound. The mission was simple: rest up and acclimate. But on day 4, the real shit began. PT kicked off with the basic screening test. 2 minutes of push-ups, 2 minutes of sit-ups, and a timed 2-mile run. They had a standard, and if you didn't meet it, you were done. No second chances, no excuses. Pack your shit and go home. From there, the heat turned up fast. That same night, they threw us into our first road march. Like everything in Delta, the distance was classified. But I'd say it was around 18 brutal miles. It was pitch black, freezing cold. And we were loaded down with 40-pound rucks. All 160 of us lined up and started off. Most guys played it safe, pacing themselves, settling into a slow march. Not me. I saw my shot to stand out and took it. I fucking exploded out of the gate. Within the first quarter mile, I left everyone in the dust. I wasn't out there to blend in. I was there to dominate. I finished that march a full 30 minutes before the next guy crossed the line. That's the shit I live for. Being uncommon. Amongst the uncommon. Delta Selection is no joke. It's the most hardcore orienteering course on the planet. And the next 10 days were designed to break you. Mornings started with grueling PT, and nights were spent mastering advanced land navigation. They didn't just hand us maps and say, good luck. They taught us to read the land, how to see the terrain, not just the roads or trails. Fucking fingers, cuts, ridgelines. If you got high, you stayed high. Water became your guide. Once you learned to read the land this way, that map stopped being a piece of paper. It became alive. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just decent at orienteering. I was a fucking master. They drilled us on distance judgment, how to sketch our own topographic maps, and how to think like hunters. At first, we had instructors dogging us through the wilderness, hauling ass and pushing us to keep up. But after a few weeks, we were on our own. Technically, we were still practicing. But make no mistake, we were being graded. Every step was under a microscope. The cadre, our instructors, made sure we stayed off roads and cut through raw terrain. Everything led to one final gut check. An extended solo exam that stretched over days and nights. No teams, no backup. Just you, your map, and your compass, moving from waypoint to waypoint in the middle of nowhere. At each checkpoint, a Humvee was waiting with the cadre inside. They clock your time, hand over the next set of coordinates, and send you on your way. Every single day was a new fight. You never knew how many points you'd have to hit or how long the test would last. And to make it worse, there was a secret time limit. Only the cadre knew it. And if you didn't hit it, you were screwed. At the end of the run, they didn't pat you on the back or tell you if you made it. No good job bullshit. They pointed you to one of 2 Humvees. One was the good truck that took you to the next camp. The other was the bad truck that hauled your ass back to base, where you packed your shit and went home. Every time I climbed into that truck, I didn't know if I'd made it or if I was about to get cut. You don't breathe until that damn vehicle stops and you realize where you're heading. That's the kind of mental warfare that separates the weak from the relentless. And out there in that cold, dark, unforgiving wilderness, I was relentless as hell. By day 5, there were about 30 of us still standing, still in the fight for Delta Force. 3 more days to go, and I was crushing every test, rolling into checkpoints at least 90 minutes before the drop dead time. The final test was coming, a 40-mile gut check through the mountains, and I was ready to eat that shit alive. But first, I had to handle business. I powered through washes, clawed my way up sloped woodlands, and moved point to point like a damn machine. Until it happened. The unthinkable. I got lost. I was on the wrong fucking ridge. I double-checked my map, my compass, and my ego, and there it was. My target, sitting across the valley on the next ridge south. Game on. For the first time, I could feel the clock breathing down my neck. I didn't know the cutoff time, but I knew I was flirting with disaster. I sprinted downhill like my life depended on it. But the terrain wasn't having it. I lost my footing, and my left foot jammed between two boulders. My ankle twisted, popped, and screamed. The pain hit instantly, sharp and unforgiving. And I looked at my watch, gritted my teeth, and did what the fuck needed to be done. I cinched my boot tight, swallowed the pain, and started moving. Hobbling up that steep ridge felt like climbing out of hell itself. By the time I hit the final stretch to the finish, my ankle was so blown up I had to untie my boot just to relieve the pressure. I was crawling, convinced that was the end of my run. But it wasn't. The Humvee didn't take me home. It rolled into the second to last base camp. I iced my ankle all night, staring at the ceiling, knowing the next day's land nav was going to chew me up and spit me out. My body was screaming to stop, but my mind wouldn't let me. I showed up. I fucking showed up, and I fought to stay in the mix. But I missed the time on one of the early checkpoints. And that was it. Game over. I didn't hang my head. Injuries are part of the process. I left it all out there. And when you do that, people notice. The Delta cadre, those stone-faced bastards, are like robots during selection. No personality, no emotions. But as I was packing my gear to leave, one of the officers called me into his office. Goggins, he said, shaking my hand, "You're a stud. Heal up, come back, and try again. We believe you'll be a great addition to Delta Force someday." And someday. That word hung in my head like a bad echo. But someday doesn't mean shit when you wake up from your second heart surgery with tubes running out of your arm and machines whispering in a language you can't understand. I placed my hand on my chest, closed my eyes, and tried to feel if my heart was finally whole. If someday was even still an option. After leaving Delta, I was sent back to the SEAL teams, but not as a warrior. They put me in land warfare as an instructor, watching guys with less skill, less grit, and less heart head into battle while I stayed behind. That shit burned. I felt stuck, like I'd hit a glass ceiling. But here's the thing, man. I didn't know if that ceiling had always been there or if I'd built it myself. I thought back to Brazil, Indiana, where I learned the hard way that prejudice is everywhere. It's in people and organizations and systems. It's baked into the damn world. And if you're the only in any situation, it's on you to decide how you'll handle it. Because you can't erase it. You can't outwork it. And you sure as hell can't let it break you. So I didn't. I picked up the pieces, tightened the fuck up, and kept moving forward. Because that's what it means to stay hard. For years, I used that shit to fuel me because there's raw, unrelenting power in being the only. When you're the lone wolf in the room, you're forced to dig deep, juice every drop of your own resources, and believe in yourself when the world's watching with unfair scrutiny. That shit doesn't just make you tougher. It makes every damn victory taste sweeter. That's why I didn't shy away from it. Hell no. I went straight into the fire. I sought out those situations where I'd be the only one, where the odds were stacked against me, and I used that shit as a weapon. I thrived off the discomfort. I brought the war to people's closed minds and watched their ignorance crumble when my excellence blew their small-ass worlds apart. I didn't sit around crying about being the only. That's loser talk. I got up, took action, and said, fuck you and fuck all your prejudice. I turned their hate into dynamite, strapped it to the barriers they built, and blew those walls to hell. But here's the thing. Pure rage, raw fuel like that, will only get you so far. I was so confrontational, so damn locked into my mission, that I didn't see the bigger picture. I made unnecessary enemies. I burned bridges I didn't even know I'd need later. And yeah, I believe that's why I never got the keys to the top SEAL teams. But when you hit a crossroads in life, you don't sit and cry over the spilled milk of your mistakes. You find higher ground. You turn that negative into fuel and build something out of the ashes. That's exactly what I did. Man, I didn't just show up for land warfare duty. I owned that shit. I became the best damn instructor I could be. And on my own time, I created new opportunities launching myself into ultra endurance races. That's how I revived my career. That's how I proved to the world and myself that I wasn't done. Then life threw me another gut punch. I found out I'd been born with a broken heart. A broken fucking heart. But here's the twist. I turned even that into fuel. After surgery, lying in a hospital bed, I looked like I was drifting in and out of consciousness, but I was wide awake. I was listening to my heartbeat, weak and wounded, but still pounding. And I smiled. You know why? Because for the first time I had proof, scientific fucking proof that I was built differently, that I was as uncommon as they come. Man, let me tell you something most people won't. Hitting a certain level of success, status, or respect doesn't mean shit. Yeah, you might think you've made it, but that's a damn lie. Greatness isn't permanent. It's fleeting. Like oil in a scorching pan. You stop chasing it, it disappears. Poof. Gone. Do you want to be uncommon among the uncommon? That's not some cute slogan. It's a brutal lifestyle. Sustaining greatness isn't for everyone. It's for the obsessed and maniacs who are willing to bleed for it. It demands every ounce of your soul, every drop of sweat, and then some. It's going to piss people off. It'll tip your so-called balance into chaos. And guess what? That's exactly the point. When you're surrounded by killers, people who are already at the top of their game, what the fuck are you doing to outwork them? It's easy to be a big shot around mediocre people. But what happens when you're a wolf in a pack full of wolves? You got to find a way to be the one they fear. This isn't about just getting into Wharton. It's about dominating Wharton. Not just surviving Army Ranger School, but being the enlisted honor man. And then while others celebrate, you take it further. You finish Badwater and leave them in your dust. Here's the truth most people can't handle. Comfort will kill you. Complacency is your enemy. That rare air you think you're breathing with your teammates and coworkers. Torch it. Set fire to the idea that you've arrived. Keep putting obstacles in your way. Bigger, harder, nastier ones. Because that's where the growth happens. That's where you get tougher, stronger, and more relentless. One day you'll look around and realize you're standing alone. Uncommon among the fucking uncommon. But you've got to earn that every damn day. So stop waiting. Get after it. Stay hard.